Hello and welcome to Spa. It's been a while since I've driven this track, yeah, yesterday I just wanted to do a race and have some hopefully good racing action, some nice battles, and I've been practicing Misano versus AI, but that doesn't really satisfy that wish. So I figured I'd just revisit the track I've done before, and Spa has been quite a long time, so I went with that one. Before we start, I just want to comment on a few sections since it will come up in the video. So there are two long sections that are flat out on Spa. The first one is after turn 1 La Source. You go full on the throttle, and then you have to stay full on the throttle through Eau Rouge and Radion, which I find to be very difficult. I've only occasionally managed to do so. And yeah, you have to hit the exact right spots. There's very little room for error. So going into Eau Rouge, you have to start all the way on the outside. Then you have to hit the curb on the inside very hard and at a precise angle. Then you're going uphill, and what's marked here is turn 3, which I thought was Radion, but maybe I'm wrong. So you have to glimpse, like just barely touch the curb because it's quite high. So don't really go over it, but you can definitely not be far off, or you'll never make the last part of the section. And then once you come uphill in what's marked as turn 4 Radion, you'll be almost gliding over the left curb again, only to run out all the way on the right curb on exit. The reason for the almost gliding is that the car is uncompressed since it's coming. The hill is basically ending, so it's going from going uphill to flat. So the springs really unload, and you lose a lot of grip in that moment. So tricky one. I'll try to hit flat out, but it's not easy. And then a bit similar. After turn 14, you start to go flat out in second gear. Then there's Stavelot, which is you start in third gear, go to fourth gear in the corner. And again, it's really important to hit every point quite right. Start on the outside on entry, hit the inner curb, and then run all the way to the outside. And it's very hard, at least for me, again, to hit this flat out. I'm not sure if you're supposed to do it flat out always, but definitely in some scenarios, but maybe not on a full fuel load. I'm not too sure. And then finally, there's Blanchimont, the last corner that is marked, and that one is also flat out. That's the one of the 3 sections that I marked that I'm best at so far. So usually I can hit it, but even then sometimes I miss it. And with that one still, you have to hit it exactly right, no way around it. So yeah, let's jump in. So here I'm on my starting my first quali lap. I take La Source quite well. It's been, again, a long time since I've driven this circuit, so I'm not as smooth on it. I think I should be kind of hitting 220s or below by my current ability, but that would require refamiliarizing more than just this one race. So yeah, let's see what happens. In any case, since this is my first quali lap, I'm not going full out in Eau Rouge and Radion. I left a bit on the table there, lifted a bit just to make sure I would get through and get a base lap in. That might be a little slower, but I just want to be out of the group of people that don't manage to set any time at all, because yeah, they are most crash prone, and this is very much a beginner lobby. In fact, I had joined the lobby before this qualifying race, so I was in the last part of the previous race, and it was very brotherly in the sense that a lot of people were like, bro, in the chat. So yeah, here going through Pouhon, also not the easiest corner apparently, but I don't feel like I struggle with it that much. No doubt I leave a lot of time on the table, but at least I make it and I go flat out from the point that I go full throttle. Now this section is Les Fagnes. It's kind of a quite big chicane. And then we come to Campus, just passed, and this is Tavolo. So we're now trying to go flat out, but here on the left it's very easy to run too wide. On this run again I lifted, and probably too much because I had a lot of space left on the outside on exit. Next up is Blanchimont. So here all the way to the outside. Tried to hit the apex, I just missed it a little bit, so I think I did a small lift, yeah, as you can see on the throttle graph. And then I made the corner still, so yeah, all good. Finally still navigating the bus stop chicane, and then yeah, just hurrying across the finish line to set a 2:23.8. So definitely not a great time. I think I should be able to do better at this point, but like I said, it's been a long time since I drove this track, so it wouldn't be for yesterday. Then quali went on, and I managed to start another lap right at the end. As you can see, there's 3 seconds on the timer now, so it was very close. In the meantime, I hadn't been able to set a better lap. Last one too was a 2:24, so I'm still on my 2:23.8. Here I'm braver in Eau Rouge and especially Radion. You can see I still lifted on the graph, but not as much as before, and it wasn't too close, but still a little. Now we're coming up to Les Combes, another kind of chicane, but they're not very, not chicanes with very tight corners, so it's interesting to navigate. This one, I believe, what's it called again? Maybe Malmedy. And then we're heading for Bruxelles, which is a 180-degree corner basically, but quite a large radius, so you have to find a good speed to take it. This corner is No Name or Jackie X. I prefer Jackie X as a Belgian, but either one works. And now we're coming up to Pouron, so try to brake, give a good stab on the brakes, go down to 4th, and then from a few seconds ago go flat out and run it all the way here to the outside. Now again coming up to Les Fagnes, take it in 2nd gear first, go up to 3rd gear, but it's kind of a short, how do you say that again? Short switch, or not switch, but yeah. You shift up a short shift, you shift up a bit early because you don't want to, yeah, you're still turning when you start to hit the gas, so it's easy to risk spinning out on the throttle. So if you short shift, you give a little less power and it's easier to control while turning. Now here, this corner full out, no problem, Blanchimont. Quite far on the left here, going into the bus stop chicane, but it's all good. I think it must have been really close to losing time, but so far so good. And I take off 1 minute, 1.3, no, not minute, 1.3 seconds. So my final quali time is a 2:22.6, which I was quite happy about. As mentioned several times, I think I should be able to do better, but as just a one-off revisit, I was very, very happy with that. So I'm starting P6. The timing sheet on the left is not quite updated with the numbers, but I do believe it was P6 that I started. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it seems correct from the grid slot as well. So here we'll be going into the rolling start. I'll skip it ahead, or I skipped ahead a little with the whole wait period. Doing my usual thing of braking and hitting the throttle at the same time, still trying to stay within the assigned box that unfortunately I don't have an overlay for, and I haven't found one. So you'll have to take my word for it. Race starts on Spa are always quite a thing, because the first real corners you take are Eau Rouge and Radion, so and usually too wide. Luckily, if you start at the front of the grid, you only start accelerating quite a bit down the straight already, as we see here. So you won't be hitting full speed by the twisty section. But even then, I usually lift a little bit to play it safe. I'd rather lose one position than crash and lose many. So here we see there is someone to my right, a bit braver than them even, so I'm past them. And I figured I could maybe have a court on the camel straight here. But then in the second phase he drove away from me a bit, so I Instead I should have tucked behind him. Strangely, he doesn't come all the way to the left, he just lets me take the position. So here we go through Lecombe. Court is behind me, Schmiddel in front of me, and I'm suddenly P4 since I gained to one position on the start, and then yeah, Court just pretty much gave it to me. I do run a bit wide into the previous corner, and I expected Court to make a move there, but they don't. Not sure why. I was slightly disappointed because I really felt like, you know, battling it out on track, and then Court was playing it quite passive so far, but it's early days, so anything can still happen in this race. There's almost 20 minutes to go. I did notice immediately that the top 3 was riding away from me, which is not a big surprise since, of course, I only qualified P6. There were 2 other cars between us that were faster, so presumably the people in front have quite a bit better pace than me. So I'm hoping to get my my kicks, my competition from behind, and at least start out by being more on the defense, which I don't mind. I quite enjoy it if it's a good battle. Anyway, this is quite a safe first lap, so that was good. Court is still within half a second. He doesn't seem to have any problem keeping up with me. Here we see that in Blanchimont I run wide, and even though I did lift a bit, but maybe I only lifted after the apex. I'm not sure anymore. My bus stop chicane is also a little messy. Not my best trail braking, as we can see on the graph. But yeah, still P4 for now, so nothing much lost. The lap times shown on the left are so wrong. I don't know what it is about Spy. I've noticed it several times. It's also on my overlays in VR that they are very wrong. Here again, Radion. Big lift on my part, unfortunately. I do manage to stay on track at least, so it's something. And Court has now fallen back a little. He's still within 1 second, but a bit further back than the half a second from before. Here also, after Lecombe and into Malmedy, you short shift to third. Same reason too, you're taking a lot of steering angle there, so you don't want to spin out on the throttle. Bruxelles, the corner we just passed, I find quite hard, and I think I'm really quite slow through there. I notice people tend to close in on me, so it's something I need to improve on still. Might also be setup related, I'm not sure, I'm not too well versed in those things yet. Pouhon, quite alright, flat out on throttle, probably a little late since I'm not running that wide on the exit. But Court has fallen back a little more even, so he was at 1.2 seconds. There's always a concertina effect into the heavier braking zones where the timer shows that they're closer, but then it doesn't necessarily mean that you actually lost time on them or they gained time on you. Let's see how Stavolo goes. Quite a big lift again. I definitely don't use all the track on the outside. Probably should have, or I definitely should have been more brave there. Not sure if I could have gone full throttle throughout, but more than this at least. This did allow Court to come closer. So he's again within half a second. My braking into the bus stop chicane there wasn't great either, so I was braking, then lifted off a bit into the first part of it, and then hit the brakes again harder, so definitely not as smooth as it should be. Lap time 2:24, also not great, but I can live with it. I'm just at this point very confused about what Court is doing. I think he might be just farming me for safety rating, which I can kind of get. I'm quite consistent even though I'm not that fast, so actually probably quite good for safety rating, safety rate farming, because you can stick close behind me and have somewhat confidence that I won't crash out and have you hit me. So yeah, I run a bit deep there in at the end of the Camel Straight into the first part of Lecombe. good good path through Malmedido. Bruxelles, same as always, could be better. A bit wide in the Jackie X corner. Still using, well, logically using a lot of ground on the exit. Behind me though, there's a position change, so Court has been overtaken by Wilberg. And this Wilberg has been coming up through the ranks quite fast. I don't think I had noticed when he overtook Court, but definitely at this point, I mean, there's no way not to notice. He's right in my mirrors, both in the middle mirror and then on the left in the corner. So yeah, coming up here on Stavelot, let's see, yeah, a small lift, way less than before. So I'm putting in the effort to try and hold this guy behind. I was happy to finally have to defend something, but it's not looking great to actually maintain the position. I just small lift also in Blanchimont. Luckily it's a very hard corner to overtake, but then it leaves you vulnerable into the bus stop chicane. So he comes alongside, I make sure to leave room on the outside, and he completes the overtake easy peasy. It is the faster line, so yeah, no big surprise there, and the guy seems also just faster than me, so it's alright. I tried for a bit and I helped for a bit, but yeah, not very long. He put down a 220 by the way that last lap, overtaking at least 2 cars. It's quite impressive pace, at least to my standards. My 223 wasn't the worst, so yeah. Here I did a small lift, and I think I still hit. Yeah, I think I still hit track limits, and actually this time I got a warning even for them. So I'm somehow gained time from exceeding track limits, which isn't always the case, but so I believe it's my first warning only, so it's alright. You can have 3 warnings, and then on the 4th you start getting penalties, so still a bit of leeway, and we're almost halfway through the race now. Wilberg immediately starts driving away from me. No surprises there given the pace that he showed on the last lap already. Court is again finding the back of my car, or approaching it at least. He's about 1 second behind now. And behind Court we see this guy Nicomil is coming up, similarly as Wilberg, seems to be quite fast, and I'm not sure where he started, but I'm quite sure he wasn't on my timing sheets at the start of the race and still for quite a while after, so he's been overtaking a few people already, and just now he overtook Court as well in a section where it's really not that easy to overtake, so again, quite impressive. So if we look at it from the replay, this is Nicomil's perspective. Coming out of Les Fagnes, he approaches Court super fast, which I think is because Court is just sticking behind me. Going into Campus, he bumps into him very hard, just kind of pushes him wide. Drifts a bit on the exit of Campus, and is well past Court at that point, but with super poor driving standards. Which is not a huge surprise to me given the next part of the race, but we'll get to that. So back to my perspective, Court has fallen back quite a bit. Small wonder given how much he was pushed. So he's about 4 seconds behind now. Nicomil still put down a 220 despite his kerfuffle with Court, and I think he also did the overtake on Helland maybe last lap still. So soon to be coming up on me. And Court put down a 225, yeah, with getting bumped to the side. Very understandable. So here again through Eau Rouge and Radion, quite a lift, and a bit too much again because I have room on the exit, but it's just so hard to judge how much lift you need, if at all. Beforehand, because it's such a complex corner, and the angle that you start with all the way on the first curb is already very impactful, but it's really hard to judge how well you took it. Anyway, Nicomil within 1 second behind now. I see him in my mirrors here for sure. I'm starting to think again, like, okay, put on a defense. Here we go. This is what we came for. We might lose a position, but let's try to have fun. So let's try to have a nice clean battle. Into Pouhon is a very difficult overtaking zone. Not entirely impossible, I think, but then it requires the driver in front to leave a gap, which I made sure to block off. Les Fagnes pretty much impossible. It's too tight and twisty, although from the overtake we saw by Nicomil on court, he could have gone through it anyway. And here, I wasn't aware, of course, of the previous overtake, but I was pretty happy with my defense because I made sure to stay a bit middle of the road right until the braking zone, and right before starting to brake, I moved over to the left. So I didn't really give a chance to come on the inside. Coming out of Stavellodo, I had a lift, I believe, and they didn't, so they joined me on the left, and we are heading side by side towards Blanchimont. So now from Nicomil's perspective, all the way back from the end of the Camel Straight, here we go through Les Combes up to Malmedy. He's closing in through all of these corners. Yeah, I have work to do in all of them. I may have talked mostly about a few select ones where I have to do lifts that I shouldn't. But I did mention Brussels, where we were just now, where I'm also noticing time loss. Here I went way wide, way past the apex on Jackie X. So now coming up to Pouhon, as I mentioned, I didn't go all the way to the right just precisely because I saw I needed to defend. And if you can't initiate it right at the start of Pouhon, then it won't happen towards the end. Here he was gonna go for the dive, it looks like. So I did the defensive maneuver I was talking about, staying middle of the track until right before I needed to start braking, then moving over quickly and then braking. So not moving under braking, but yeah. Campus, he comes up close behind me again, and then Stavelo, I will have to lift a little bit. I think he's going full out, but from this screenshot that I took, I tried to my best to take the best one possible. But to me, it looks like he's off track here as well. And I went a bit detective mode. I put a line on my back spoiler, and then I made a copy of that line and aligned it with his left tire all the way at the bottom. And then I drew the white line. I drew it across my car in green, as you can see. And based on perspective and so on, since my car is facing the camera directly and his is pointing a bit to the right of the camera, I'm quite sure he went off track there, which, yeah, I mean, of course makes it easier to overtake, and in his shoes, I then would back off a bit, because I don't feel it's a correct overtake. Here also, he went at least very close to going off track, but it's all fine. But so we go side by side into Blanchimont, and my thought process at the time was, well, while this was happening, that okay, if we're gonna do this, then we both need to lift to have clean racing. Because if we both don't lift, then we crash. There's no way to stay on track, both of us through there. The limits are too tight. If it's kind of a prisoner's dilemma, because it's also possible that just one of us lifts and they get to keep the place, but it's really not fair. And that's exactly what happens. So I lift, they don't, they pull ahead of me. I get back on the throttle immediately when I see this happening, so I still end up going wide, especially since I didn't have the option to hit the apex. I was leaving that to Nicomil, but he also went wide, as we can see here. So to me, this overtake isn't on at all. And I was pretty annoyed, especially at the fact that they didn't lift, which was very clear. So yeah, I wanted nice racing. They didn't comply, and I went for a full dive bomb. Fully out of context, this is entirely wrong on my end. With the context, it's still wrong on my end, but I don't regret it. Fuck that guy. He immediately after this happened, he stopped where I bumped him, and then he typed in chat "wide dive bomb," and it's because, yeah, he has his racing standards, I have mine. but if people have much lower racing standards than mine, then I sometimes stoop to their level, like I did there. And I was going detective actually before seeing the replay of the overtake on court, but having seen that just now myself, I'm super happy actually that I did what I did. So anyway, I hope Court was happy too. He got a good view of it right behind us. So he's now behind me again. And we can continue our non-battle, let's say. So I went ahead and skipped 2 laps because really nothing was happening. Court was just being very passive behind me, not taking any action. This also contributed to my view that he was safety rate farming me. But on lap 8, I come to Bruxelles, I missed my braking point, I hit the brakes way too late. And yeah, I go off track, this opens the door, and finally it seems he can't resist anymore. So he passes me. And yeah, that will be it for the rest of the race, because this guy is faster than me. JS and Helland behind me are quite a bit slower. I suppose it's, well, maybe the numbering is wrong again for JS. But yeah, there's no threat from behind. There's only 2 minutes left in the race, so basically 1 lap. Yep. So yeah, let's skip to the end. So as the doors once sang, this is the end. I brought it home safely in P5. I was okay with it. It wasn't the best race ever, but I got a bit of battles going. And I had achy and tired, so it was my 1 shot at a race, so I wasn't too disappointed either. I also got some practice on Spa again, so that was good. So yeah, thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.